Goodness, you've got so many briefs to talk about, haven't you, this morning? Can we start with the vaccine, though, first, if we may? NHS staff, I'm told, are no longer getting the vaccine first. Is that right?
Well, look, the Joint Committee on Vaccinations and Immunisations has set out a priority list, as you know, and that is based on the vulnerability of someone to actually end up being hospitalised and, or very sadly, dying. So we're going to stick with the prioritisation that's been set out. As I said, that is done independently by scientists, and it's right and proper that we follow that.
But some of the confusion is around the number of vaccines that we can get. Originally, 800,000 to start with, and then the Prime Minister saying 10 million by the end of the year, but that looks as though it might not happen now.
Well, I mean, 800,000. So we're starting the programme, of course, next week. As you know, hospitals are getting ready for this. There'll be pods in GP surgeries as well. So we're starting initially with 800,000, and then let's see where we end up by the end of the year in terms of the numbers that we acquire. That will depend on the manufacturing. I hope we will have some millions by the end of this year. But of course, what we also have always said is that the vast majority of this vaccination programme will take place in the new year. And of course, Kay, the vaccine we're currently talking about is the Pfizer-BioNTech one. We also know that the AstraZeneca vaccine is currently under review by the MHRA. So we'll see what they come forward with on that. And of course, we have acquired further doses of that particular vaccine.
Yeah, but why say 10 million and then not be able to deliver? Why put a figure on it?
Well, as I said, I think, look, this is a complex vaccine that has to be stored at -70 degrees. I think it's right and proper that all of that work is done properly. And we've always said that the bulk of this stuff will come in the new year. I think we should be very proud of the fact that actually, as a country, we were the first to acquire this vaccine. We were the first to have it pass through our regulator, and of course we'll be the first that would be deploying the vaccine. But as I said, the vast majority of this programme will take place in the new year, and that is why people still need to observe those basics of
hands, face,
washing their hands. Yep. Exactly. Thank you very much.
We know that. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who you know, the White House chief immunologist, told us yesterday that the UK's approval of the vaccine was done in a much less deep way than they would do it in the US. How can you convince my viewers this morning that it's safe if the main man in the US is saying we've rushed it?
Well, you should also see what, of course, Dr. Fauci subsequently said overnight about the fact that, you know, he is confident in the processes that we have followed. And I just want to make this point, because you're absolutely right. This is about giving people the confidence that the vaccine is safe. The MHRA, which is the regulator in the UK, is independent. It's also regarded, actually, as the gold standard of regulation by international scientists, people around the world.
Not according to Dr.
Well, as I said, if you look at what he subsequently said...
No, but he said the US's FDA is the gold standard. So I was going to ask you what standard ours is.
Well, as I've said to you, I mean, we regard what we have got as a gold standard, but it's not just us. If you talk to the international scientific community, they will also say that the MHRA is the gold standard. And you will have heard in the last few days from June Rain, who runs the MHRA, who's made it very clear that all the procedures have been followed, there have been no corners cut. So people should be really confident that this vaccine is safe. If it wasn't safe, it wouldn't be deployed. And I certainly have full confidence in the work that the MHRA have done.
So Dr. Fauci is wrong when he says that the FDA in the US is the gold standard?
Well, as I said, I mean, I can only talk for the regulator that we have in this country, and I know I would encourage you to get scientists in who will tell you.
We do.
Well, great. I mean, you should get some more, and they will tell you that the MHRA is indeed a gold standard.
We did hear from Gavin Williamson. He was sat just where you are, around this time yesterday, and he was talking about our vaccine being much better because our scientists are much better than those in France, Belgium, or the US. Why would he say that?
Well, look, I mean, I've seen some of the
but why
script.
Say it? It's just
well, look, I mean, you know, there was an element of tongue-in-cheek about it, but I think he was making a more fundamental point, which is actually we should be really proud of what we as a country have achieved in terms of the number of vaccine doses that we've acquired. The Vaccines Task Force sits in my department. They have done heroic work. This is civil servants, this is people from the business community, the pharmaceutical companies, all coming together to ensure that we have almost 360 million doses of 7 of the the most promising vaccine candidates across the world. I think that's something we should be proud of, actually.
Indeed. So how many have arrived so far?
I think, as I said to you, I think we will be deploying this next week. So we will, at that point, have about 800,000
So how many
doses.
have we got as we speak?
Well, it'll be close to 800,000. I said we start the deployment from next week, and by that point we will have the full 800,000.
This is precious cargo. How do we transport it? Does it have like a police escort? Is it what's the security like?
Well, it is. I don't want to go into the details of that, Kay, but
I want to know how
it
secure
is. Of course, it is done in a secure manner. I think that's right and proper. So yes, I can confirm that this is done in a very secure way.
Okay, and out there in the country, most of them already that we need of those 800,000 to start the rollout next week?
Well, we're starting next week, so yes.
You would hope so, and I think
Yes.
it takes a while, doesn't it, for it to actually settle before you can give them the vaccination. How much is it all costing?
Well, actually, all the contracts, all of that will be sort of set out. There's as you know, there's a process for doing all of that when it comes to government contracts. We haven't set that out at this stage. I think there is an issue of commercial confidentiality about some of this. But as I said, in due course, people will be able to see this. What I would say to you, and I think as we start this vaccination program, as we roll it out across the country, more and more people get it, and we are able to get back to some semblance of normality, open up the economy fully. I mean, what I would say to you is that the cost of these vaccines is going to be dwarfed by the economic benefit to the country and, in fact, to people's well-being as well as a result of making sure that we've got vaccines being deployed.
Supermarket tax relief. The supermarkets are paying back 1.8 billion, I believe, from the business rate holiday. Should that go to help pay for the vaccines, or should that go to help struggling pubs?
We've made £280 billion available to support people's jobs, support businesses and livelihoods over the past few months. And since we talk about the hospitality sector and pubs,
I'm not going to ask you about Scotch eggs.
Well, you're welcome to, but actually I'm vegetarian, so I'm probably not going to be able to eat Scotch eggs. But when it comes to the hospitality sector, of course they have got a business rates holiday. We've also ensured that VAT has been temporarily cut. They have also received grants. And of course, you have seen the furlough scheme extended until March. And for businesses that are either required to be closed because of the restrictions we have in Tier 3, they're able to claim up to £3,000 a month each. And actually, even for businesses that have facing some restrictions but still able to open in some way in Tier 2, they will be able to claim up to £2,100. So there is support that has been made available. Yeah,
but we both know that hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk in the hospitality industry unless they get more money.
Look, I completely understand that it is a very, very difficult time for the hospitality sector, for actually lots of sectors across the economy. I talk to businesses every day, so I very much feel that burden on my shoulders. But as I said, we are providing support, but the best thing we can possibly do is to get the economy fully opened up, and the way we do that is by getting the R rate down. And, there is room for optimism. We've talked about the vaccine. We've also got the rapid testing that is being deployed. We've seen that works as well. So there is room here for cautious optimism. But for the moment, exactly as you said, people need to observe those basics. Wash your hands, cover your face, and maintain social distancing.
Brexit. Are we going to do a deal this weekend?
Well, we are, of course, in those discussions. We are still having those discussions, but it is fair to say that we are in a difficult phase. There are some tricky issues still to be resolved. And I would just say this point, which is that right from the start of this process, Kay, I'm sure I've been on your programme, talked about this over the past many months, we've always said that a deal can only be done if the EU recognises that the UK is a sovereign, independent nation. It is on the basis of that that a deal will be done. But I said we continue to have those talks.
Needs both sides to make a deal, though.
Sure, but as I said, this has been a key principle for us, that the UK is a sovereign nation.
Is it fishing?
Well, I mean, obviously people talked about fisheries. There are issues around level playing field. You'll forgive me if particularly since we're at such a sensitive time in these discussions, I'm not going into the precise details of those discussions. But, we are at a critical phase.
Given that we're at a critical phase and you're aware of it, I understand why you can't play your hand at this stage on television, but can you give me a percentage chance of whether we'll be able to have a deal by the end of It has to be done by Sunday, because there's all sorts of stuff, without going into too much detail and getting down in the weeds, there's stuff going on in the House of Commons on Monday and Tuesday that means that you'll have to have a deal or not by Sunday night. Well,
look, I've never been a betting man myself, so I'm not going to get into the percentages game. All I can say to you is that David Frost and his team are working incredibly hard. We are doing this in good faith, but ultimately there has to be recognition that we are a sovereign nation. You're
here to talk about climate and 2050. We should be carbon neutral by 2050. That's a very ambitious target. How confident are you? I'm not asking for percentages because you're not a betting man.
No, but I will give you some percentages.
Oh, you will on this one?
I will give you some percentages because what we've shown as a country is that we actually have been able to cut emissions and grow our economy at the same time. Now, I was on your programme a couple of weeks ago talking about this 10-point plan, the Green Industrial Revolution, and that is driving forward, creating jobs, creating wealth in our country, but at the same time cutting emissions. So over the last 30 years, as a country, we have managed to cut emissions by 43%, but at the same time grow our economy by 75%. So as a country, we have shown, and actually we're world leading at this. We were the first major economy which has legislated for net zero by 2050. Of all the G7 nations, we have shown the fastest cut in emissions since 1990. We've got this Climate Ambition Summit that is taking place on the 12th of December. We hope that other countries will come forward with ambitious emissions targets. But let's see where we go. But certainly, it's been really important for the Prime Minister, particularly, is that we put our best foot forward. And I think it's been recognised that the plans that we have are really pretty ambitious.
Now, I'm very worried about you because I hear that you're spinning too many plates, and now you're president of the COP26 climate conference as well. Have you just got too much on?
Actually, since we talk about my role at COP, over the past few months, I've had bilateral meetings with ministers in 40 countries. I've spoken at almost 50 international gatherings and events. And at the same time, of course, I've managed to do my role as business secretary. My approach always in these things is to keep your head down, do your job, and if you do that, things will happen.
OK, just before I let you go, for the benefit of my viewers at home this morning, Jonathan Van Tam guaranteed that Father Christmas will be one of the first people to get the vaccine. I checked, and he's 1,749 years old. So is it true? Is he one of the first to get the vaccine?
Well, I think on the prioritisation, he would clearly be at the top of the list.
OK, so that's a yes, isn't it, for all my younger viewers watching this morning?
Absolutely, that
Father
is a
Christmas
yes.
is going to be fine, guys.
He is top of the list.
He's top of the list. Fantastic. You heard it here first on Sky. Thank you for joining us.